young learners, I'm going to begin with a question. You must have come across wind, right, in your science classes? Yeah, I just want to recall as to what wind is. First, let me ask you a question. What is wind? Any idea? Yeah, wind is the movement of air caused by the uneven heating of the earth by the sun and the earth's rotation, isn't it? Yes or no? It's the movement of the air. And you know, these winds, they range from a light breeze to natural hazards. Hazards means what? Natural dangers or disasters, you can say, such as hurricanes and tornadoes. You must have come across, isn't it? Big storm like hurricanes and tornadoes and whirlwinds, right? So they become a threat to the living beings, isn't it? So here is a poem. So you must have come to know, you must have guessed as to what I am trying to start about, isn't it? So here is a beautiful poem written by, he is the poet Subramanya Bharati. Okay, this Subramanya Bharati is a great Tamil poet and he is famous for his patriotism. What is patriotism? Love for the country in the pre-independence era, that is before the independence. Okay, and this poem written by Subramanya Bharati was actually translated in English by A.K. Ramanujam. He is a Kannada and an English poet. He is well known for his translation of classical and modern poetry. Okay. Now, this Subramanya Bharati, this poet is trying to talk about wind. He talks to the wind, you can say. Okay. He talks about the power of wind. He describes how the wind is destructive. What is destructive, children? Destructive means very cruel. Okay, a destroying kind of a thing this wind is. So he is describing the wind to be very destructive, and he says it is very powerful, isn't it? So here, as we are going to read the poem line by line, you will come to know what he actually tries to convey to us. A beautiful message he has conveyed. So once we complete the chapter, as we are doing with the poem, I will be giving you the meaning and also what the poet is trying to convey. We are going to know. Okay, are you ready? Yes, let's begin. Wind blows strongly and causes a lot of destruction. How can we make friends with it? That's how he begins. Wind, come softly. Don't break the shutters of the windows. Don't scatter the papers. Don't throw down the books on the shelf. There, look what you did. You threw them all down. You tore the pages of the books. You brought rain again. You're very clever at poking fun at weaklings. So let's see this part of the poem. Okay, so he's talking to the wind. He's asking the wind to be very soft. That's what the first line says. Wind, come softly. He says, don't be so strong, don't be so destructive. Come on, be a bit soft. The shutters of the windows break. Shutters means what? The wooden cover on the outside of the window, have you all seen? Yeah, you open and close that, right? That is the shutter. And you know, when there is a strong wind, what happens? It just bangs the window and makes a loud noise, isn't it? You must have come across that. Even during this winter season, you know, sometimes when the wind is very strong, the windows start banging, the shutters start banging, isn't it? Shutters of the window. So what you do? You close the windows. So the same thing has happened here. That's what he says. Don't break them down. And you know, see, because of the strong wind, you have scattered the papers. And he says the books on the shelf which has been kept has fallen down. So here the poet is describing the power of the wind. And he says, look, don't be so destructive. You are, what he says, you are doing all this. See how he is, you are. See the line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th line says, you're very clever. So he is talking to the wind like a human being. Wind has been personified here. That means you are, he says. What is personification? This is a literary device. We have been learning literary devices, right? So the poetic device here is personification, you can say. Personification is, it's a kind of a metaphor, a comparison. When we talk about non-human things as if they are human. Non-human is what? Is the wind. Can you talk to the wind like that? But he is making the wind to be a human. He is imagining the wind to be a human and he is talking to the wind. See what you did? You have broken the shutters of the window, you have scattered the papers, you have thrown all the books down from the shelf, and what all you have done. See all the destruction that you have done. You have torn the pages of the book. So he says, please be soft. Don't be so harsh. Don't be so tough, he says. And he also says, you are very clever at poking fun. Poking means what? Poking means making fun at weaklings. Who does he call weaklings? Weaklings are people, those who are weak, very weak. So he refers to what may be the small little tiny plants or the little children, the small children he's talking about. They all get scared when they see that strong wind, isn't it? They may fall, they may get hurt. So the initial part of the poem, you know, he's referring to the wind as a small little child. He says, come softly, no, like a small young child. Don't come like, and the second part he says, in the later part he says, don't come like a youth. Why he is referring the second part to be a youth? Because it is so destructive. It has destroyed the whole thing. You know, youths are very energetic like you. For any purpose like for violence or for energy or for destruction, you know, they use the youths. See, even in the army to fight against the other nations, they use whom? They take the help of the youths. Youths means what? Young people like you. So he says, don't be like them. Come on, be like a small little kid. Be soft. If you come softly, you are not going to destroy anything. But if you come if you come so violently, what happens? You destroy the whole place. So he is talking to the wind, and wind has been personified here. Got it, children? Yes. Here I have given you the meanings. Word meanings are poking. Poking means what? Making fun. And then what is weaklings? I told you weaklings are, he refers to the people who are very weak, isn't it? And there are literary devices also given. See there? The first thing is, when a word is repeated at the start of two or more consecutive lines. What is the device used over there? Now see the lines 2, 3 and 4. Don't and don't. Do you remember? What device did we use? Any idea? The previous poem when we learnt? Yes, this is anaphora. So the word is getting repeated, isn't it? Yes, at the starting it's getting repeated. At the start of two or more consecutive lines, when it is repeated, it is the device used over here is anaphora. See the same way in lines 6, 7 and 8, can you see? You and you are. Your. You and you. So the same word is used in 3 lines, okay, and at the start it is used, isn't it? So this is also what? What device is used over here? Anaphora. Got it, children? Yes. Frail crumbling houses, crumbling doors, crumbling rafters, crumbling wood, crumbling bodies, crumbling lives, crumbling hearts. The wind god winnows and crushes them all. Let's see to this part of the poem. See, now the poet is addressing to wind as what? Wind god. And before that, what he says is, the word crumbling is repeated, isn't it? So many times. So it gives a stress that everything crumbles because of the strong wind. Frail means, what do you mean by frail? Frail means physically weak, very weak people or very weak things, whatever. So weak things crumble. What do you mean by crumble? To cause something to break or fall, you can say. Okay. So what all is crumbling? Houses are crumbling, it seems. Doors are crumbling. Rafters are crumbling. You know what houses and doors are? What are rafters, children? These rafters are the sloping beams supporting a roof. Have you all seen the beams that are given? That supports the roof. So they are called as the rafters. And then wood has been crumbled, it seems. Crumbling bodies. Bodies of people also sometimes fall. Animals, the living things. And he says that even hearts crumble. Why do hearts crumble? Yeah, when you see all this getting destroyed, or when people see all this getting spoiled or broken, heart certainly will crumble, right? That will also fall. And everything that is weak, they react to it. They react to that strong wind. And how do they react? They fall down. They break. That's what he says. And he's calling the wind as wind god. He addresses the wind as wind god. He says that this wind god is so powerful that he winnows. Winnows means what? Winnows means, let me tell you in Tamil, podakkirudhu solromla. Have you all heard of that word podakkirudhu? Yeah, that is winnowing. Winnowing is separating the grain from the husk. I've given you a picture, you can see, isn't it? So what does he say is, God separates all the people like this. He separates the weak and he separates the strong. Weak from the strong. And you know what happens to the weak? The weak fall down and they get crushed. So he's comparing the grain with the people. Just like how the grain is being separated from the chaff or the husk, you can say, the wind god also separates the strong people from the weak people. So when there is a strong wind, all the things that are weak fall and get crushed. Here the poetic devices are crumbling. You can see it's getting repeated, isn't it? So what is that repeated? When words are getting repeated, what device is here? Yes, it is repetition. They lay emphasis on crumbling, isn't it? The poet is laying emphasis on the word crumbling. And then there's another poetic device also used, that is, see, wind god winnows. Wind winnows. Can you see? Wind winnows. The repetition of a consonant sound in close connection. Can you see? Wind and winnows. What is the consonant sound over here? W. Yeah. So that is called as what device, children? Alliteration. Got it? Yes, I think you must have understood the poem so far. And the next part has got a very interesting thing. So keep waiting. He won't do what you tell him. So come, let's build strong homes. Let's joint the doors firmly. Practice to firm the body. Make the heart steadfast. Do this, and the wind will be friends with us. The wind blows out weak fires. He makes strong fires roar and flourish. His friendship is good. We praise him every day. Yes. Now in this paragraph, the poet wants us to make friends with whom? With wind. Now he is comparing the wind, or he refers the wind to be the challenges in life. He is referring wind to the challenges in life or adversities in our lives. So wind is a symbol of what? Symbol of challenges in life or adversities in life. So this is a poetic device I have used over here. That is symbolism. Okay. So he wants us to make friends with whom? With the wind or with the adversities in our lives. He says problems will not listen to us. He will visit you any time, So we should be prepared. So we should build. First he talks about the physical homes or the houses that we build, He says the first line here says, so come, let's build strong homes. Let's joint the doors firmly, he says. See, he's talking about the physical houses. The building of our homes to be very strong and the doors to be kept very strong, firm. Okay. So first he talks about that, and then he says practice to firm the body also. He says make our bodies and hearts also firm to face what, children? To face the challenges in our lives. Yes or no? So problems will just not come as it is, or it won't wait for us. It keeps coming, it keeps visiting us anytime. But what should we do? We should be prepared to face any adversity, any problem, any difficulty in our lives. And to face that, we should be strong enough, So if we have to be strong enough, first we have to make friends with whom? Friends with the wind, he says. Then if we make friends with the challenges or the wind, that's what he refers to, isn't it? He refers wind to the challenges. He says we will not feel that they are troublesome. Who are troublesome? The problems will not be troublesome to us, isn't it? So he is comparing the wind to God. He says that the wind is God and we have to praise wind every day, it seems. See, the previous paragraph also told that he is referring wind to God. So he says praise that wind every day. Just take up the challenges as it comes. Don't be weak. When you're weak, what happens is you'll be crushed down. You will fail. You cannot overcome the difficulties. So what should you do? You make friends with the challenges. You become strong. And so what he uses here is, see, beautiful words that the line he puts here is, do this and the wind will be friends with us. The wind blows out weak fires, he says. See, when the fire is very weak, small fire, when the wind blows, you must have experienced that. It is put off. Or it blows off, you can say. But when the fire is a bit strong, it roars. Roars means it starts burning even more. The more the wind is, the stronger the fire becomes. It flourishes, that's what he says. Flourishes means it becomes more and more. It becomes more stronger. So he is giving a beautiful or an important message, we can say. We should not feel bad that we are facing so many challenges and adversities in life. We should just make ourselves physically, mentally strong to face all the challenges. For small things, nowadays you children do not have the patience to go through or to face the challenges. You are not able to overcome those challenges. So you have to learn, you should become mentally strong. Maybe not this time, or maybe I have failed this time, but I'm not going to continue the same way. It's a challenge for me. So let me try to improve myself. So you have to keep improving yourself. You have to keep flourishing yourself. So once you become strong enough, when you start overcoming the challenges, we become friends with whom? We become friends with the wind. That's what he tries to say. And we will be happy that we have faced all these challenges in our lives, and it helps us to become stronger and better. Don't you think so, children? So just sit back and think. What are the challenges that you face in your life? And how do I overcome it? Don't have negative thoughts. Don't bring in negative attitudes in life. Try to be positive. Try to overcome the challenges. So this poet has brought a beautiful message. He's conveying a beautiful message to us through this poem, The Wind. Got it, children?
You have understood the poem paragraph by para, right? But now let me give you the summary of the poem, children. The first part of the poem, what does it say? It describes the action of the wind. And what does the poet ask the wind to do? He is requesting the wind to come how? Softly. He pleads the wind not to break the shutters of the windows, not to scatter the papers and throw down the books from the shelf. But what does the wind actually do? It tears the pages, throws the books down, scatters them here and there, right? And the poet also says that the wind is making fun of weaklings. Who are these weaklings? You know, weaklings are weak people. Poking. You remember that word I gave you? Poking. Poking is making fun of the weak. Now it brings down the frail houses, weak houses, crumbling doors, crumbling rafters, and even weak hearts. So all these things, it crumbles them down. And it crushes everything that is how? Very weak. Everything is crushed down, destroyed totally. So destructive this wind is. And the poet explains, or he describes the wind to be very, very destructive. Right? Yes. And there's an advice that he gives us. What is the advice that he gives us? He is asking the wind, he is asking us to be very strong. Only then we can save ourselves from wind. What is he comparing the wind to? He's saying that wind is what? The adversities in life that we come across, the problems, the difficulties we face. So we have to be strong enough. Only then we can save ourselves from that particular wind. Now see, physically we can build strong houses with firm doors. Yeah, you can give the strongest door for a house. This is physical way of building, and you can make it strong so that nothing can destroy your physical house. But what about the bodies and hearts? How can you keep them strong? You have to overcome the difficulties. And you know, the best way you can say, you can make friends with the wind, it seems. That's what he says. Do you think making friends with the wind is possible? So he means friends with the strong people. So even you learn how to be strong. And the last few lines say that the wind blows out the weak fires. See, when the fire is very weak, it just blows out. But the same wind makes the strong fires roar and flourish. Here, it puts them down. When you're weak, you fall. But when you're confident and when you raise up, when you try to overcome it, when you say, I can, there are so many hands, like the strong wind, to bring you up, lift you up, and you can roar and flourish. That's what he says. Thus, the poem conveys the idea that nobody cares for the weak. Nobody cares for the weak. So you should never be weak. Try to be very, very strong. And even the wind is on the side of the strong people only. So we must make ourselves very strong to become successful, and you have to overcome the challenges in life. So this is the summary that I have given you for the whole poem. Yes, children. Let me ask you a few questions. See if you can answer. Are you ready to answer the questions? What are the things the wind does in the first stanza? Try. First one, the wind blows very violently or strong, very strong it is. It destroys everything. It breaks the shutters of the windows, scatters the papers. Superb. I think you can get it. And very easy to answer all these questions. It throws the books down from the shelves, tears their pages, and also it brings a lot of rain. Don't you think so? Yes, okay. Come on, try answering the second question now. What does the poet say the wind god winnows? What does the wind god winnow? The wind god winnows means that nature separates the weak things from the strong ones. So everything that is weak, what happens? It is tossed by the strong wind. Yes or no? And it gets destroyed. Just like the winnower separating the grains from the wheat. The grains of the wheat from the chaff. The same way, the wind god also separates the weak from the strong. Don't you think so? Come on, answer the third question. Let me see. What should we do to make friends with the wind? We must make ourselves strong. To face whom? To face the strong wind. When we are strong, the wind is not going to harm us. Instead, it will become our friend and help us to grow and flourish. Am I right? Very much, very true. Next, the last question. What do the last 4 lines of the poem mean to you? What do the last 4 lines of the poem mean to you? What does it carry? It carries an important message. What is that important message? The strong people get stronger and they are victorious in their lives because they can face any adversity. Don't you think so? Yes. We must also make ourselves strong like a burning fire so that it grows in us, flourishes, and also it becomes friend with the wind, that is with the difficulties in life. So once you take up the difficulties in a stronger way, you have no problem. So we also prosper in our lives by facing all the challenges. Don't you think so? Yes, I think I've done. And you have tried answering the questions also. It's very easy. If you listen to the whole explanation, it will be very easy for you to write the answers on your own. Okay, children? Thank you very much.
I've given the literary devices in the poem. You just have to go through it. I have taught the literary devices as I was explaining the poem, right? The entire poem is written in free verse, children. There is no rhyme scheme in the poem. I think I've made the whole poem very clear to you. Thank you.